Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Aiden. Today I want to talk about the top 10 cars you can get under $10,000. I know this video is mostly going to concern you first-time car buyers and college kids who are looking for a fun, modifiable car, and for that you've come to the right place. I promise I'm not going to be talking about a Camry or Prius because those suck, so don't click off the video because there are some cars on this list that you need to seriously consider buying. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with what I think is the best, and that is the E36 and E46 M3. These cars were produced from 1992 to 2006 and were some of the best sports cars of their time. The M3 came with a 3-liter inline-6, and if you're lucky, you may be able to find one mated to a 6-speed manual. The E46 M3 has been known to have the best styling BMW has ever produced. If you find either the E36 or E46 over 150,000 miles, there's a great chance that you can get it for under $10,000. However, if you decided to purchase an M3 from these eras, it's critical you make sure the car has been maintained constantly, and the SMG transmissions have been known to be problematic on the E46 M3s. If you want a spirited BMW driving experience, the E36 and the E46 M3 are amazing options. If you love Japanese sports cars, then I know you've heard of the Impreza WRX, specifically the 2000 to 2007 models. From 2000 to 2005, the Impreza WRX featured a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4, and in 2006 it was changed to a 2.5-liter turbocharged inline-4. These engines were mated to a 5-speed manual, and the WRX ended up putting down around 220 horsepower. That may not seem like a lot, but the car weighs just under 3,000 pounds. The Impreza WRX is also massively customizable, and there's a huge community of enthusiasts. This is definitely a good option if you want to pass over the reliability issues of German cars. Of course, we'd have to leave room for a Mazda on the list, and it wouldn't make sense if that Mazda didn't have a rotary engine. No, I'm not talking about the RX-7 sadly, but I am talking about its predecessor, the Mazda RX-8. The RX-8 came with a 1.3-liter 2-rotor engine that made between 191 and 237 horsepower depending on the amount of exhaust ports within the engine. The 4-port made 191 and was mated to either a 4-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual, and the 6-port was mated with a 6-speed manual. In 2006, the 4-speed manual was replaced with a 6-speed paddle shift controlled automatic. There's so many special models to this car, but sadly, many of them weren't introduced to the United States. This car has been known to have some issues with the apex seals drying out and causing catastrophic engine failure, so make sure you keep an eye on those just in case you choose this car. When the name Porsche comes to mind, you usually think of the 911, but sadly those still go for at least $25,000. But most of us also know about the Boxster, which today is known as the 718. But I'm not talking about the 718, I'm talking about the 986 Boxster. The production run of this Boxster designation lasted from 1996 till 2004, and if you're a huge Porsche fan, this is an amazing way to get into the club. Though the 0 to 60 time is going to be between 5.5 and 7.5 seconds based on the model year you get of the 986, this car is incredibly fun to drive and handles amazingly. Depending on which year you snag, you can get one of 3 transmissions, the 5-speed auto or manual, and the 6-speed manual. Of course, us car lovers will spring for the 6-speed manual, but the automatic tends to bring a cheaper price if you're really on a budget. There's a Boxster on Auto Tempest right now for $9,000, and get this, it has less than 70,000 miles. Watch out though, because a costly issue with the 986 is the IMS bearing, because if this component fails, it constitutes an engine rebuild. This problem was less common on the 1996 to 1999 models due to there being a dual-row IMS bearing, but the 2000s model have single-row IMS bearings that tend to be more problematic. If you decide to get a 2000s model, you can ask the previous owner or dealer if the IMS bearing solution that Porsche offers has been fitted to the car, and if so, you should be in the clear. And to add on to our German friends today, the next car is going to be the B7 Audi S4. This model designation lasted from 2006 till 2009. And yes, I know that German cars like this tend to be a little unreliable, but who can pass up a 4.2-liter V8? That's the same V8 that they put into the R8s, by the way. Sound of this Audi V8 is irresistible, and if you're an Audi fan, you'll love this car. And on top of that, you will get Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system so you can drive it even in the snow. A couple years ago, you couldn't get this car because even a decent example sat at around 15 grand. But now you don't have to deal with the B6's terrible taillights because the B7 has dropped to a feasible price point. So if you're interested in Audis, you should definitely pick this car up. Next on the list today is the E39 BMW 540i. The E39 ran from 1995 till 2003, and throughout its entire life, it was gifted a 4.4-liter V8. And if you're lucky, you can find an example of this car that's mated to a 6-speed manual transmission. The M62 V8 pushed 282 horsepower to the wheels, and back in 1995, that was a really good amount. The E39 body style has been known to be the best looking body style ever fitted to a 5 Series, and to be honest with you, I agree. I don't recommend fitting an M5 badge to it though, because then you'll be called a poser. There's currently a 2002 BMW 540i on Auto Tempest with 160,000 miles for $8,500. Yes, that's a lot of mileage, but if you maintain this car to a T, you can still get a good amount of use out of this car. I see about 100 of these cars every single day, and if you can guess which one I'm talking about, then I applaud you. Of course, I'm talking about the Infiniti G35. Could you imagine getting a car with a V6 that makes over 300 horsepower? Well, now you can. The G35 sports a 3.5-liter V6, and get this, you can get it with a 6-speed manual. You may think the G35 is second to a Civic for a racer dream car, but if you add some legit mods to the car, you can push some real power, and you may even shock some GTR drivers if you're lucky. Currently, there's a 2007 G35 on Auto Tempest with 125,000 miles selling for $7,500, and it even has that 6-speed manual everyone loves. Here's another Japanese car for you JDM fans out there, and that is the 1998 to 2005 IS300. Now, before you comment saying mean things about the transmission, I get it. I couldn't find a single listing with a manual transmission, and when I read about the car, I kept seeing that the 5-speed manual was an option, but sadly I had no luck finding one. The good news is the 3-liter V6 in the car makes a decent 220 horsepower, and that this engine will last forever. I was constantly seeing listings where these cars had over 200,000 miles and were still selling for over $5,000. I don't think there's a single car out there other than something Italian that will sell for over $5,000 when it has over 200,000 miles. There are plenty of IS300s on Auto Tempest selling for under $10,000 right now, so if you're interested, this could be a great option with amazing amounts of potential if you attach the right mods to the car. Just don't skimp out and get the IS200, then proceed to straight pipe it. I don't want to hear a rattling can go down the road every day. We're getting close to the end now, but I just want to talk about another Porsche real quick. Wow, another one. Except this one surprisingly is a little harder to find, and the prices are currently rising. I'm of course talking about the Porsche 944. No, Porsche did not stick a 6-cylinder in this car, but the 2.5-liter inline 4, or 3-liter if you get it between 1989 and 1991, still has room to deliver good performance numbers, especially if you can get the 944 with the 5-speed manual. Styling this car, in my opinion, is amazing and brings back the early 90s charm. Like I said though, you need to move quick because the 944s are starting to rise in value, just as any Porsche does. Currently there's 944s on Auto Tempest with a 5-speed manual for $9,000, but act quick because I don't see this car sticking around for long. Last but not least, we have another German sports car, and that is the E36, wait for it, BMW Z3. Between 1999 and 2002, you can find this clown shoe of a car with an inline 6 with differentiating displacements. I'm not going to go over all of them because there are many. Yeah, this car was kind of a mess and they didn't seem to sell too well, but the latest 3-liter inline 6 made 230 horsepower and had the blessing of being mated to a 5-speed manual. There's not much to say about this car, but if you're lucky enough, you might be able to find the Z3M for under $10,000, and those came with over 300 horsepower if you get a 2001 to 2002 model year. There are boatloads of these cars on Auto Tempest for under $10,000, and I mean the Z3, not the M. I hope you guys enjoyed this car list I put together, and I hope this inspires some of you to go out and purchase your first sports car. There's truly little barrier to entry in the sports car world, and you can find endless amounts of cars if you look hard enough. These are all great options, but please, if you choose any of the German cars, please maintain them. Don't blame me if your rod bearings grenade your engine. I will not claim responsibility for such things. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in the next episode.